Hello everyone, this is Dance Crochet and today we're going to learn how to crochet a spring cover for a mobile. In front of you, you will see I have 3 different color of yarn. I want to go for a spring color, so I might be using purple instead of blue. So the middle yarn we won't need. So I want to give you a quick tip on when you purchase yarn. A good idea is to always look at the back of your yarn and you will see some lovely information. As you can see, my yarn type is 3 light and some information on the hooks you can use. I'm going to zoom a little bit in so you're able to see. You can have 3 to 4 meters or 3 to 6 US as the size of your hook for this tutorial. Before we begin, you will need a hook over 3.50 meters, a needle, and of course, scissors. Let's start by attaching a slipknot to our hook and chain as many as we can for our mobile. Simply what we're going to be doing here is after making our slipknot, we're going to chain, for example, up to 20 chains or a little bit more. It also depends on the size and the width of your mobile. So keep your mobile aside because we'll need it to make the right measurement. So I'm going to fast forward the video here because I'm making about, I think, 27 chains as a start, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Now that we have our mobile in front of us to actually make the right measurement for our spring cover for our mobile, a good idea is to try and wrap it around because we need to see if we've made the right amount of chains. And a good idea is to not make it loose as a cover. I would suggest to make it tight because if you make it loose, then there's a slight possibility your mobile might fall out of your cover. So as you can see, I need about that much. So where I'm pointing, the rest above is going to go. So I'm removing the chains and that's about my measurement. And if I remember correctly, the amount I used was about 27 to 29 chains. The amount of chains you make, it all depends on the width of your phone. So even if it's more chains or less chains, that's up to you and your mobile. So what we're going to do now with the hook is we're going to join it with the first chain, as you can see. And after we've chained one, you will need, of course, a stitch marker. In this case, you can use a stitch marker, a safety pin, or those little plastic safety markers that they sell at a yarn shop. But in this case, what I'm going to do is cut a little bit yarn, a colorful yarn, so it's a different color than the yarn we're using as a stitch marker. So what you're going to do now is place the hook under the stitch where we chained, and we're going to add our little stitch marker over the hook, and then we're going to pull that through. We're going to pull the hook through the point where we want our stitch marker to be. So now that we have our stitch marker in place, we're ready for our next step, which will need our mobile to check if the measurement is correct. As you can see, the measurement is perfect. So now we can continue. After having our measurement correct, we are going to continue by putting our hook into the next stitch and make a slip stitch. And we're going to continue this step all around by making in every stitch a slip stitch until we get to our stitch marker. When we get to stitch marker, I will inform you what will be our next step. So continue making a slip stitch all around, as I said, and I will meet you at the end. Now that we're close to our stitch marker, we're gonna make exactly that's where the stitch marker is. I'm going to make another slip stitch, and then I'm going to continue to our next stitch, which we are also going to make a slip stitch, and that's exactly where a stitch marker is. And the reason why I've put the stitch marker is because sometimes when we crochet, especially in a circle, we tend to forget where our last stitch was. So the stitch marker helps us remember where we started and where we're gonna end. Otherwise, we're gonna simply accidentally just add extra stitches, and then our cover will look a little bit wider on the side towards the end of our mobile cover. So after we've done this, you're gonna simply just chain one, and that's your second row to begin with. So technically you're just going to repeat the step as before, simply by making a slip stitch in every stitch all around until you get to a stitch marker, which is the end, and you chain one. So I suggest you to continue the step a little bit more, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. So simply continue crocheting more rows and more rows and more rows, and I'll show you what's next. Now that we're done, after we've crocheted more rows, as you can see, it looks beautiful, and I've also cut the yarn, and I will explain the reason why. But before I do, I'm going to put the mobile into our half spring cover to see if the measurement is exactly how I want it and how tight it is around the mobile. We don't want it too tight, but we want it tight enough so our mobile will never fall out of our cover. So as you can see, it fits perfectly. And now I will explain the reason why I cut the yarn is because we're going for a spring color, so I thought why not add another extra color to it. So this is the color I'm going to be using. It's about, well, it is purple, pinky purple, if I could say that. So I'm going to show you how to add an extra color yarn to your spring cover for your mobile, but it actually depends on you if you do want to add a color, or if you don't, or you just simply want to continue with the color that you have already started to crochet. So at this point I'm going to show you, I'm going to simply make 2 knots with the 2 different colors of yarn. And then I'm going to start to crochet the way it is. But before I do, after I make at least a knot or a second knot, I'm going to cut the ends so they don't look so they don't stick out either at the front part of our cover, because it usually does. So what I'll do is just cut the ends, and I'll leave a little space so it's not close to the end, because then it can come loose, so then you'll have to tie it again. So now that we've done that, simply we're going to put the hook back to the stitch we were, and that was when we begin our next round. Remember our stitch marker, A stitch marker is the beginning of crocheting, but also the end of our crochet project. So now we're just going to continue. If I remember correctly, yes, I have made a chain 1, so I'm just continuing in the next stitch, and slowly as you crochet all around, as you make your round, you will see the other color of our yarn blending into our spring cover for our mobile. And I like these two colors together because I think they're perfect, and they also bring out a spring color for Easter. So as you can see, in the start is better if you do it a little bit slowly and not tight, and don't tie the yarn that much, because again, as I said before, it could come loose. So as you can see, slowly you see the color blending in to our soft purple, as you can see. So what you're gonna do is simply, if you decide to do it in this way, by adding another different color to our spring cover for our mobile, then you can simply add even more colors. But that again all depends on you, how you wish to have your spring mobile cover. You can start it up with a light blue or a light yellow, and you can mix the colors the way you want, or you can make a rainbow cover. All of this is actually up to you and what you wish to create. So what I'm going to do now is simply going to fast forward the video for you, and I'll meet you at the end. So as you can see, I have added a couple more rows with our pinky purpley color. And what I'm going to do next is probably add another row. Here I actually have 4 rows, so I think 5 rows is enough for me. And now I'm going to show you how it looks like on the mobile. So what you're going to do is to continue in crocheting until you get to the point you want. Now what I've done here is I have actually added an extra round, so it's practically about 5 rounds of this color. So at this point I'm gonna cut the yarn, and I'm gonna add the previous color that we start with, which is the light purple color. So we're gonna do the same thing as we did before by adding the new color. Simply tie a knot or 2 knots depending how we want it to be, and cut the edges if you wish, or you can actually keep them and later on you can trim them depending how or where they're going to be at your spring cover mobile. Sometimes they're from the inside and sometimes they're actually from the outside. That's when you'll have to trim them a little bit. So as you can see, I'm actually trimming them, and I'm gonna start to crochet our project and then you actually see our lovely soft purple blending into our spring cover. And as you can see, you always add the extra color when you add the point where your stitch marker is. Otherwise you'll make the mistake of adding more stitches and then it's gonna come out a little bit wide on the top, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna fast forward the video for you. I think basically you've understood how to do it, so I'll meet you at the end. Here is our lovely spring cover for our mobile. I actually made 2 more rounds of our purpley pinky color, and it blends in beautifully. And now we're going to try again with our mobile to see the measurement, if it's tight enough, because that's how we want it. And as you can see, even if we've crocheted extra rows, it's not a problem. We can always fix it. As you can see, it fits perfectly, and we won't have to add any more rows. So now the end, I'm going to show you how we're going to fix it and how we're going to make it look nice. So what you need would be a needle and some yarn. So now we're going to sew the end of our cover. An easy way to do that is to put the cover inside out and just simply sew the ends. And the reason why we're doing this is because if we didn't pull it inside out, then sewing the end wouldn't look that pretty on our cover. It would look like a quick job. So now that we have our cover inside out, try to flatten it down, and we will start to sew. And the trick is to start from the edge until you get to the other corner. And as you can see, I have already fast forwarded the video for you, and I'll meet you at the end. We're done creating our spring cover for our mobile. If you wish to decorate it, a good idea is to crochet flowers. If you don't know how to crochet flowers, just go to my YouTube channel and you will find a video on how to crochet a flower. So basically the decoration is all up to you, because I've made this video on how to crochet a spring cover for your mobile. I will though share with you my own creation, what I did with the flowers, and again, it's up to you how you wish to decorate your spring cover for your mobile. If you like the videos, subscribe, like on Facebook, and follow me at Pinterest. Thank you for watching Dance Crochet, and please be free to ask any questions at the comment section below.